Today I have Sandison joining me for a Wednesday wellness talk. In addition to being a student at Boise State University, Sierra is an author, public speaker, biker, type 1 diabetic, and Miss Idaho 2014. I met Sierra through the Miss America organization. I technically met her in 2014 when I competed for the first time as a teen. She was the current Miss Idaho. I've always admired her comfortability with herself. She's so fun and driven that I think her energy is just contagious. Today, Sierra and I will dive into what it's like being a type 1 diabetic, her experience being diagnosed, what she's struggled with, what the silver lining is for her in this experience, her role models, her insecurities, and her message to those out there that are struggling with type 1 diabetes or any other insecurity or setback in life. To start off, tell me a little bit about your background in health, how you were raised, and then how that's different from the way you live now.
Okay, I think the biggest thing I have to say about health is that at 18 I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I wouldn't say I necessarily eat healthier now because type 1 doesn't really have to do much with diet. What I do have to pay attention to is how many carbs I'm putting into my body and then dosing my insulin based on that. So I'm very mindful about how many carbs I put in. I don't necessarily try to limit them right now. When I was in pageants, I definitely was. But I do have to be aware of how many are going into my body, which I think naturally maybe makes me hold back a little bit because the biggest thing is sugary drinks, like soda. I really like lemonade. Maybe if I'm doing a sport, I'll be like, do I need the Gatorade? Or are my electrolytes fine and I could just do water? Because that is the sugar water, so many carbohydrates that I can do without, and it costs so much in insulin. So I think I don't actively try to limit my carbs right now, but I think just being so aware of them makes me cut out a lot that if I didn't have diabetes, I would be shoving probably an extra 300 carbs into my body every day. Other than that, I try to stay active, try to eat healthy, but I don't try to stress myself out about it. When I was in pageants, I was a little grumpy just because I was not getting enough carbs, I don't think.
You also have to treat yourself in life.
Yes.
There has to be good rewards, and when you're not getting any of that good stuff, even if it is a little bit less healthy for your body, I think it's good for your emotional being
for sure.
to not feel like you're down all the time, feel like you can't have anything.
Yeah.
Being within reason.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that I do. I would say the only diet thing that I do right now is I try to maybe eat nuts instead of potato chips and make little small healthy choices like that. So when it comes to time to do we order dessert at the end of the meal, or I'm really craving pizza today, I can be like, yeah, I've been pretty healthy all week. I've been making healthy choices and I want to splurge
There's not
right
any
now.
guilt because you have a little bit of balance.
Yeah.
And then it's worth having some fun.
Exactly.
What is the number one misconception that you've been facing having type 1 diabetes?
I think probably everyone's constantly being like, oh, should you eat that? Should you eat that? And it's so frustrating to me as maybe a pageant competitor, I shouldn't eat it, or maybe someone who wants to be really healthy or lose a little weight, I shouldn't eat it. But I don't, I am healthy right now, and I might not be ready to be on stage in a bikini, but
it would be rude
don't
for
care.
me to tell you, should you eat that if you weren't diabetic?
Exactly.
And it still is rude,
and,
even if you are diabetic.
And with the type of diabetes I have, there is no reason why I shouldn't eat it. I just have to count the carbs and take the appropriate amount of insulin. It's a misconception between the two types, because one type is you should eat healthy and exercise to try to lower your blood sugars, and one is not caused by your lifestyle. And so people can be like, oh, you can't have that, or oh, I didn't get you, I'll go to a birthday party and they'll be like, oh, we didn't get a cupcake for you because you have diabetes. And I'm like, thanks guys. That's really frustrating. And then more than that is I think when I am eating sugar, people will be like, oh, Sierra's a terrible diabetic because she's eating that chocolate cake right now, and they don't understand how my diabetes works. Yeah. And so I also hear that with not just eating. We, as people with diabetes, go through constant high blood sugars and constant low blood sugars. That's just part of having the disease. It is not possible to have a perfect straight line unless you are upset, your diabetes is your main focus. There are people that are very, very in tune, but in general, there's stress, there's hormones, fatty foods affect your blood sugar different than non-fatty foods, even though carbohydrates are the main thing that we're taught to count. So your blood sugars are a roller coaster, end of story. None of us are perfect, And when someone maybe witnesses me have one low blood sugar because maybe I exercised too hard or like I miscounted my insulin, they can take that and then go say, oh, my friend Sierra has diabetes, but she's like way out of control or blah, blah, blah. Like my pancreas doesn't work. That's the point. My blood sugar is not under control. So they'll take this one little snippet, and I'll hear that from other people like, oh, my aunt had diabetes, but she was like
so bad
at being a diabetic because they saw one little 5-minute snippet of, yeah, like our blood sugar is not in range most of the time because our organ doesn't work. It's like dieting. Like you can only eat vegetables and like cut out your carbs, but like there's not,
We're
like
humans.
You cannot put all your energy into like one aspect of your life. I do my best. It's still a roller coaster, so.
Do you feel that you've had any strong mentors?
I think, so when I was first diagnosed, and this is a big part of my pageant journey and my diabetes journey as a whole. When I was first diagnosed, I heard about Nicole Johnson, and I heard about a lot of other people with diabetes who are well known, and I remember reading about Nicole Johnson, who was Miss America 1999, and she's the one who inspired me to get into pageants. But something that really hit home on like the first week that I was diagnosed was she was diagnosed in 1993, which was the year I was born. And so as an 18-year-old, I was like overwhelmed. Like, does this mean I can't eat things? Does this mean I have to quit my sports? What dreams of mine are going to be impossible now that I'm a diabetic? This woman has lived with this disease since I was born, and she is thriving, and she's like living a healthy life. She's not, I mean, technically we do by definition have a disability and are protected under the American Disability Act, but like she doesn't seem disabled. Like there's nothing, she's not limited or held back. That was really encouraging, especially just on day 1, day 2, day 3, being overwhelmed and being like, wow, I have to do this till I die, unless they come up with a cure. It was really encouraging just to see her and so many other people who have been like, I've been diabetic for 10 years, I've been diabetic for 20 years. I'm like, okay, they can do it, I'm gonna do it, I can do it one day at a time. And now I'm almost going on 8 years, which is wild. That's crazy.
Has your perspective of your disease transformed at all in the last 8 years?
I think definitely for the first part of it, it was like, this sucks. I hate this. I don't want anything to do with it. And then people can get upset about whether they are a type 1 diabetic or a person that lives with diabetes. And I'd say I fall into that category at first. And now I think they're like, I'm so much more than my diabetes, blah, blah, blah. And I totally get that and respect that. But for me, I think I was diagnosed. I decided to not only like overcome this hurdle that was placed in my life, but use it to empower myself and others. Not only do I want it to be attached to my identity, but like it's a huge part of my identity is that like I am diabetic, and you can say I have diabetes too. I don't really care because I like it's something I'm proud of and something it's
You're
an important
less
part of my
sensitive
life.
to it because it's been so huge for you.
Yeah, and it still sucks and it still makes some days terrible, but I think that makes me a stronger person, and that's something that's really important to my identity.
There's typically a voice and a message that comes up and kind of a main insecurity for each of us. And I was wondering if you would share that with me today and talk a little bit about how you combat that and how you stay positive.
I think I try not to dwell on them. I think my main coping mechanism is like when I have an insecurity, just don't think about it. And if it does come up, like I'd say there's some things about my body and like I wish I looked a certain different way in certain places. And so I think my main coping mechanism though is to not focus on them and instead focus on maybe my accomplishments, things I do like about myself. Like I think everyone should have like a really beautiful photo shoot of themselves, because I have some from when I was Miss Idaho where like if I'm ever sad or like feeling gross, I can be like, oh yeah, look at you, look at you. Like I may look terrible today, but like I can look also if I can grow up.
Don't find your identity in those like low spots. What fulfills you?
Accomplishing goals and pushing myself past what I think I'm capable of, if that makes sense. I think we all suffer from imposter syndrome. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, I'm doing the Miss Idaho thing.
Yeah.
I feel
so
that.
You're like, I'm just Grace. Like, I'm just Sierra. I should not be the Miss Idaho. That's like, I don't belong here. I was listening to a podcast of a guy who was talking about imposter syndrome, and he said he felt like a man in a suit was going to come knock on his door and be like, no, like, you've gotten away with too much. So, like, I think that way about, like, when I wrote my book, I was like, who wants to read what I have to say? My first book signing had a line of, like, 200 people in it.
That's so cool!
And then I was Miss Idaho, and I was Miss Idaho.
You have the whole year feeling like, who am I to deserve this?
Yeah, and then what else have I done? I don't know. Just everything. I've given over 100 speeches in 34 states, and every time I'm like, no one is going to show up. Why? Like, they're going to boo me off the stage, and then every time they're like, thank you so much for sharing. And I think that's a lesson that not only do I want to continue reminding myself of, but I really want to encourage other people who now, a lot of my friends put me on this pedestal because I now have this resume that I've created, but I didn't always have it, and I was never and I still am not anyone special. It's just, you need to believe in yourself because no one else is going to. At first, just stop underestimating yourself. Everyone needs to understand they're capable of more than they think they are, and at the very least, you need to try to accomplish those things. So there's things in my future that are big goals that like every day I'm like, I don't know if I'm capable of this, but I'm going to try. And I might fail, and then it'll be a learning lesson. But if I succeed, then that's even better. Dream big, stop underestimating yourself, and remember that everyone suffers from imposter syndrome.
You do a lot of public speaking. What is your primary message that you share with the individuals that you do speak to?
My main keynote talks about insecurities and maybe the things that make us feel different or weird or broken or worthless. And for me, obviously, that was diabetes. It was, my body is literally broken, literally doesn't work. Then I have this machine on my body that I have to wear that makes me look weird. And then I hate that my body can't take care of itself. I would see my friends just down all this sugar, and then maybe we'd test their blood sugar as a joke, and it'd be perfect, and I would just be like, oh, if I ate all that, like, I would be so sick. Like the insulin would take so long to cover all of that stuff. So there's a lot of anger towards that, and I think we all have that, whether it's like a physical insecurity or a personality insecurity, or maybe you also have a disease that makes you feel like your body's broken. Taking that and not only learning to tolerate and accept it about yourself, but learning to love and embrace it, and then using it to serve others. That's my main message, is take what you think makes you less than and use it to be your most empowering thing. And I think going to Miss America also is the imposter syndrome. Miss America is the ideal. She's perfect. And that's so wrong. It's the thing that makes Miss America the most relatable and the most impactful are her flaws and her imperfections, and the fact that she can be vulnerable with them. That was my biggest thing, is overcoming that imposter syndrome. Is Miss America is not perfect. She just uses her imperfections to empower herself rather than let her back.
I love that. It's okay to stumble, be vulnerable, or share a story that doesn't make you look like this wonderful, perfect person, because people relate to that. Okay, so we're gonna transition into rapid fire. Try to answer quickly with whatever first comes to mind.
Okay.
First thing you do when you wake up in the morning.
Brush my teeth.
Last thing you do before bed.
Scroll Twitter.
Favorite healthy food?
Does cheese count as healthy?
No, but we'll give it to you because it's
no carbs.
So it's pretty safe for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a healthy. We'll consider it, yes. Favorite cheat?
Grilled cheese sandwich at Applebee's.
What's a piece of critical feedback that you've been given?
Okay, this is maybe a little ramble. Which is the whole
Go
point. But one of my critiques in pageant interview coaching, so I'm getting ready to compete again, is that I build the clock and I don't tell you what time it is, which you can see in this whole entire interview. So I spend the whole time like explaining the context behind my answer, and then finally get around to the actual answer. And so, yeah.
It's hard, because I think if you tell them the answer first, they stop listening. So I'm like, I want you to hang on to my words, but...
Yeah, and I need you to understand all of this when you could really just get it in one sentence.
Something that you're really good at.
Hyping people up, I think. And believing in myself.
And a goal for 2020.
Oh, I really want a 4.0. It is so hard. I'm in upper division engineering, and I keep getting A- and B+, and it's so hard to get like a perfect A. I want a 4.0 semester, and I have not had it in 2 semesters and probably 3. I don't think I'm going to get straight A's this semester, but I'm trying so hard.
Ugh. Well, I'm rooting for you. Well, that's everything, Sierra. Thank you so much for letting me pick your brain.
Good luck at Miss America.
Thanks.
So exciting.
That's a wrap.